Hey guys, welcome back to Faintly Familiar. I am Jacob Sigmund.
And I am Sarah Sigmund.
And today we're talking about the movie Paris When It Sizzles, starring William Holden and Audrey Hepburn.
I actually like this movie. I think it's one of the most underrated Audrey Hepburn movies out there. But it was done in 1964, so it's really later in her career, and it was probably after Breakfast at Tiffany's and all that. So she had, My Fair Lady, she had all these other great movies. And so by the time we got to this point in her career, people were like, let's not do this. But it was still a good movie. I enjoyed it.
I should tell you guys about the plot of the movie before we go any further though. So William Holden is the guy who is the screenwriter in the movie, and he is writing a screenplay that he's been hired to do for a studio. And he's had weeks and weeks and weeks to write on it, but instead he's procrastinated, hung out around Europe, and already taken their money, and still owes them a screenplay. Well, he hires an assistant, Audrey Hepburn, to go ahead and help him type it up in 2 days, and she ends up helping him write it. But really in the movie, they're really writing their own love story through the form of a movie, and at the end of the movie, they fall in love. They still don't really have a screenplay.
They don't have a screenplay.
So it's just a big rom-com, to be honest with you.
It's a classic rom-com. It's not like the modern day rom-coms where you got Friends with Benefits. You know what I mean? This is
it's a classic.
Fall in love. You're in Paris.
It's a classic in the regard that it has that classical love story approach. It doesn't add in any intricacy that feels like it could allude to something too modern or too out of the box for its own era.
I also think it's really neat that in the movie, if you pay attention closely enough, that they'll say Audrey Hepburn's character actually says My Fair Lady, and then William Holden says Breakfast at Tiffany's. That's really neat. It's dropping hints of little reminders of past events that she's done and past movies that she's done, and I think that's really cool.
I thought it was really interesting because when we were watching the TCM airing of it, afterwards Ben Makowitz had a little thing at the end where he was talking about it. And he said that William Holden and her actually had an affair earlier in their careers, and he had developed a drinking problem, things like that. And so when they were working on the set of this movie, he was still pining after her. And so it was a real problem, and they used to send the crew home all the time and things like that at the beginning of the day because it was just such a problem. And it really, I think, kind of showed into the movie at some points. It was, some of the chemistry in the movie was a little lacking almost, and that's a little unfortunate because the story really was cute, but maybe they needed some better chemistry to hold up the plot and make it a more sound story.
Well, you kind of forget when you're watching the movie that they were in Sabrina together, that classic. That was way earlier in both their careers. And you forget that, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing for an actor to do. You don't ever want them to be oh, there's still that one character. But it probably did have some chemistry lacking, mostly because there was that strife on set. And one thing I did appreciate about the story, though, is when they started out the movie and William Holden and Audrey Hepburn first met in his apartment, he had nothing written. And she's like, how far are you? And he's like, nothing. And he's got all these blank pieces of paper he's laying out. It's like laying out a path for their future relationship or romance, or however he sees it, it's a path. And it's just so interesting. They're just blank pieces of paper. And he's kind of explaining how he has in his brain, he has nothing. He only has the title. And it's the girl who stole the Eiffel Tower. And she thinks that's great, and it is a great story. It's a great title. So overall, what do you think? Did you like that?
I liked it. I really liked it. I would give it, a really good recommendation to anybody who loves a rom-com. Yeah, I mean, even modern rom-coms that have been made, not so much here lately, but as much as as early as late as 10 years ago, rom-coms were still being made, and I'm not sure that any rom-com today has matched up to just the elegance of this movie and the feeling of being, even self-aware. The movie was very self-aware of talking about Hollywood and the intricacies of how being a screenwriter can be, and just even the industry itself. So I really appreciate things about that. Some of the things I didn't like about it could have been wrapped up sooner as a story, and the chemistry of the cast was just a little odd at times. So I would give it 1 thumb up and recommend it to anybody who loves rom-coms.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment, really. I'm a big Audrey Hepburn fan, so for me, I'm really tempted to give it 2 thumbs up, but because this isn't probably the best movie she ever made, I only have to give it about 1 thumbs up. I will leave you with this last thought, though. Why did they not make a full song Frank Sinatra's The Girl Who Stole the Eiffel Tower.
That's a great question. It would have been great.
I'm dying for that. That would have been classic. Oh,
It really would have been. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. This has been Faintly Familiar. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe because we're making reviews of all kinds of classic movies every single week. Thank you so much for watching, guys.
And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Faintly Familiar.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.